Well, we all know about Greece now. Alexis Tsipras, the Greek prime minister, he caved. He went down, flat down, face down on the mat. He went for a deal much worse, actually, than the original deal he was offered on June 26th, which back then, remember, he called the big show of a referendum. Hey, democracy in action. Everybody's going to vote. The people voted, and they voted in a landslide saying, no, we don't want that stinking European deal. But anyway, he went for a worse deal, and the terms, actually some people are praising this deal. I don't understand why, but it's a huge neoliberal grab, in my opinion. If you want the details, I put up a post today on the blog. Some of you, I use the term neoliberal a lot, and some of you may have heard it before, but I want to clarify actually what that means, because I've been asked privately by people, Mike, are you slamming liberals? I mean, you keep slamming neoliberals. Is that the same? No, I am not against liberals, but neoliberalism is not about social liberalism. Neoliberalism is an economic doctrine, and it espouses things like free trade and deregulation and free markets and tax cuts. And you might be saying, well, all that stuff sounds good. What's the problem? Well, in theory, it might sound good, but in reality, it's been a total disaster. It's been behind the collapse in wages for workers, the massive growth in income and wealth inequality, the buying of our government, the polluting of the environment, all the excessive financial speculation. It's just really a really bad system. Okay, so that's neoliberalism. When you hear me say it the next time, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not bashing liberals, okay? It's a completely different thing. On another note, people have been asking me, you think Tsipras was bought? I mean, did somebody get to him? I mean, maybe, I don't know. However, I can tell you this, if I were Angela Merkel or Wolfgang Schäuble, I would not have paid him a dime. I would not have paid him a single euro. Not necessary. I mean, these people knew from the very minute that Tsipras was elected that they were basically talking to a man who did not have the balls to back up his words. I mean, let's face it, he comes into office and right away, the first thing he says is, we're not leaving the euro, and we're not leaving Europe. We're not giving up the euro. I mean, what kind of negotiating tactic is that? He basically capitulates right from the start. Dude, I mean, read Donald Trump's Art of the Deal, for goodness sakes. Any good negotiator will tell you that to win in a negotiation, you have to have two things. First of all, you have to put all your options on the table. But right from the start, Tsipras took a major option off the table by saying Greece was committed to the euro and committed to Europe, and they were not going to reintroduce the drachma, and he repeated that over and over again. And the second thing you have to have is you have to have the ability to walk away from the deal. Germany was prepared to let Greece go. Greece, on the other hand, was not prepared to let Europe go. Game over. And Merkel knew it. To walk away, to convince the Greek people that they would have been better off by themselves and not being a part of this oppressive oligarchic dictatorship, which, let's face it, that's what Europe has become. Okay, let's not kid ourselves. That would have taken strong leadership. Okay, it would have taken a person who had so much confidence in himself and so much confidence in his ideas and his country and his countrymen, and also a person who had the ability to inspire them and encourage them and make them feel like, everything is going to be okay, and he had their backs and he was going to lead them to the promised land. Okay, that's the kind of person you would have needed. And Tsipras, let's face it, he came nowhere near that as a leader. The guy was weak, and he was mousy, and he was capitulating, and he was freaking scared. He believed all the fear-mongering about, the disaster that's going to happen if Greece left the euro and went back to the drachma. I mean, He should have just looked at who was saying that stuff, who was putting out this garbage. It was the usual hitmen of the bankers, otherwise known as all the mainstream economists. Okay, they were all the ones say, oh, you can't do that. But Tsipras, he was petrified by this. He was terrified. Let's face it. Okay, very few leaders have this sort of confidence. Very few people have this sort of confidence. Someone once said that confidence is being scared and doing it anyway. You have to look fear right in the face and believe in yourself. That's what creates leadership, and that's what creates success. And how ironic is it that one of the greatest military leaders, one of the greatest generals of all time, was a Greek, Alexander the Great. But Alexis Tsipras, a Greek, he apparently had none of the DNA of his ancient ancestors. Ask yourself, can you look fear in the face and do what you need to do? On another note, the United States is not a real democracy. We shouldn't criticize Greece. We don't have referendums where we vote as a nation, as one, and we decide whatever the majority rules. What we have here is a representative democracy. We elect representatives and we empower them to do what they need to do. But as we have seen all too often nowadays, these representatives are pretty much morons. They're idiots. And these idiots are just doing things for the wealthy and the powerful. And if you think about it, the founding fathers, they played a pretty clever joke on all of us. All right? Because they created an elitist system. It was structured that way so that the elites would decide everything. They had absolutely zero confidence in we the people, except maybe when we the people had to be called upon to fight and die for the elite's adventures. That's fucked up. All right? Anyway, that's your civics lesson for today. This is Mike Norman saying see you next time. Bye-bye.